Welcome to Culture Vultures. I'm Sandy Frye, your host. Our creative director is Nancy Cole, and this is a program that examines arts and culture around the Tampa Bay area. Two guests with me today are Terry Cohn and Xander Moore. Terry is performing arts coordinator, and Xander is performing arts instructor of a pyramid program. Now, what a pyramid program is, I looked it up, and on the website was an amazing first-page letter. And I'm going to quote some of the things so you get the idea. Pyramid exists to meet the needs of people who are developmentally disabled. We care about the people we serve, our employees, and each other. We provide uncompromised service. And the services are the arts. And Terry, tell us about it because you are the coordinator of the arts. First, how did Pyramid begin?
Well, Pyramid is what's called an ADT, an Adult Day Training Program for individuals with developmental disabilities. And our founders, Pyramid began in 1994 to serve people with moderate to severe disabilities. Mm-hmm. And the folks who founded us, Meryl and Jan, believe very, very strongly in the transformative powers of the arts. So every pyramid has a very strong performing and visual arts component to it. There are 6 pyramids across the state. Obviously, one in Tampa. Mm-hmm. The rest are in the Panhandle. There are 2 in Tallahassee, 1 in Fort Walton Beach, 1 in Panama City, and 1 in Pensacola. And an adult day training center takes individuals and gives them a meaningful day. In our case, we have a complete acting, dancing, music, several different types of music and visual arts, photography, painting, jewelry making, collage. And then we have a variety of other things. We have basic academics, crafts, computers, just what we can do to give all of these individuals a meaningful day and integrate them into their community. We do community-based outings every week, and people stay with us, come in and stay with us we're open from 8:30 to 3:30 for students.
It's interesting to know that you work with adults. And how are they defined?
In the state of Florida, an individual with developmental disabilities stays in the school system until the age of 22. Mm-hmm. So our youngest student is 22 and our oldest student is 75. Our oldest performer is 62.
Wow.
Yes.
And disability can come from a number of things: accident, at birth, something that happens at birth, and so forth. And why did they think, or do you know why they thought that the arts would be a perfect way to gather people who have the ability to present something that other people can appreciate? There is another quote that is in that letter, which I think is so wonderful. It says, adults with developmental disabilities see themselves as artists or performing, gaining self-esteem and self-confidence, and participating richly in the life of their communities. Families brimming with pride, and the community audience seeing beyond their disabilities to appreciate their abilities. I think that's a marvelous way to express what the mission is. And I imagine it takes a lot of work. Have you planned the entire sort of course for the semester, or do you divide it into semesters the way a school would? And when you offer programs, or are the pyramid participants, do they say for a certain amount of time, or as long as they wish? How does that work?
Well, we're a 5-day-a-week program, and some students come 5 days a week, and some come 2 to 3 days. Our classes are, let's see, we have a class at 9, 10. Everyone has lunch at 11, and then we have classes again at 12 and 1 and 2. And we, the performing arts, we have a tendency to do our classes around our performances. And we do our performances around a theme. We've just finished our British invasion theme, so all of the dancing and the singing and the acting had something to do with the British invasion. And our next theme that we're working on now is the awesome 80s. So everything has to do with the 80s, and we take the classes from learning, from beginning the dances or beginning the songs. Well, we look at our final product, and our big show is November the 3rd, and so we back up from November the 3rd to see which songs and dances we're going to do, what choreography needs to be done, what...
how long it's going to take to learn words for some songs, and usually in every performance we have one song that we do sign language to. So, and I'm not a sign language instructor, but through help of the computer and some friends that I have that are signing instructors, we put together a song, and that takes a great deal of time to learn.
Yes, it does.
And when you speak with our student, Marcy, later on, she'll let you know that I am kind of a hard taskmaster. I make them work on it every day, and when they've done well, then they do get rewards maybe at the end of the week, and they get to do something that's fun. But while we're preparing for a show, we're pretty serious about it.
Yeah, I imagine so. Well, you are an actress, a singer, and a teacher.
Yes,
combined.
I am.
And I remember you from USF.
Yes, actually, I taught a course in musical theater voice. I was the first instructor for that course, and I believe it still exists.
I think so.
At USF. Nancy Cole was the person who hired me for that class.
That's right.
I have been, you know, as you say, a singer and an actress in the Tampa Bay area for a long time. I've been a voice teacher, private voice teacher, for a little over 40 years. And choir director, church choir director, but this is my first venue into this kind of teaching, and it's been a wonderful experience for me. It's really kind of tied everything that I've ever done and had involved in my life really into one thing. And friends that I talk to who haven't seen me for a long time and ask me what I'm doing now, and they say, oh, that's the perfect job for you. So I really do love it, and working with Terry is really it's wonderful.
Enjoyable.
I really enjoy working with her.
Right. Well, having known Terry at USF as well, I can see that you're both of similar capacities and capabilities. When you work with these students, what are your chief challenges, and how do you plan rehearsals, actually? When you say you back up from November, you know you have a certain amount of time. And by the way, I saw the British invasion, and it was very cleverly done because the audience was very familiar with the Beatles, very familiar with all the songs that came from, well, it was the 60s.
The 60s too.
I remembered all of them. And it immediately connected them, actually. And when, particularly in karaoke, there is a kind of a karaoke section, which is really quite interesting too. So when you work with singers, how do you can you create singers, by the way, or are they choruses or what?
Well, we do have an opportunity to do private lessons, and so singers that have a little bit more potential, I will work with them individually to develop their breathing and their ability to hit the notes accurately. But one of the biggest challenges is probably learning words for a song, because there is a developmental disability. Everyone has a different rate of learning.
Sure.
And so it's understood in my class that we haven't learned a song until everyone has learned it. So, and sometimes that means I enable other students to assist those students that might have a little more of a challenge to learn, having them sit closer to them. And I use little tricks like, you know, we start to play the song and then I turn it off and I say, what's the next line? And that helps them to remember. So there's all sorts of little things that, you know, you can add to it that help to encourage them. And I give them all CDs and pages of the music, and they take them home and they work on them at home. And it's very evident that they take it as seriously as I'd like them to take it. They really do. They want to do well. everybody wants to do well, but
Of
they
course.
really want to do well, and they like that praise just like everybody else.
Right, right. Well, Terry, you have worked with some performers, with wheelchair performers. Now, you were talking about when we, before we began the show, about the difference between a mechanized wheelchair and one that is not. Do your performers use mechanized wheelchairs?
Yes, most of my performers use mechanized wheelchairs. And when I say my performers, I'm the dance teacher. So we have what we call stand-up dancers and wheelchair dancers, or dancers who use wheelchairs. We have only one wheelchair dancer who use, well, two who use manual wheelchairs, and the rest use mechanized wheelchairs. Many of our students have cerebral palsy and spinal bifida and conditions like that need, they don't have use of their arms, so they need a mechanized wheelchair. And it's a real challenge to come up with choreography that will feature manual wheelchairs, mechanized wheelchairs, and stand-up dancers, because what highlights a wheelchair doesn't always highlight a stand-up dancer. But you know what? We make it work, and it's just absolutely amazing when it does work. And our performers are like other performers. They dance or they sing for the sheer joy of it. If I'm working on a piece of paperwork and I haven't started the class, they'll start spinning around or doing a figure eight or stretching. So that's their motivation. They just dance for the love of it. And none of our performers want anybody to feel sorry for them because they're disabled. They want people to come in and be entertained, just like any performer. Our students want to take people out of themselves. They want the audience to stop thinking about the mortgage they have to pay, to stop thinking about any illnesses in their family, and just be completely transformed and entertained for the duration of their dance. And they work hard at it. Because it's not easy. When I first started doing this, in order to learn how to teach, I sat in a wheelchair myself and tried to, and you know, it's not as easy as pointing it in that direction. It's much more difficult. And our dancers do, they do circles like this around each other, they do figure eights, they do concentric circles, and they do partner circles, all of which are very difficult to do because when you sit in a chair, you don't always know how far out you stick.
Right, yes.
And that's a hard thing to learn.
Calculate.
And they work really hard. It will take us about 4 months to do one dance. When I first got there, it took us 6 months. And when we finally learn something like partner circles or concentric circles or figure eights, we can then incorporate them into another dance, and so it takes less time to learn the next dance.
Sure.
But they're dedicated to just taking everyone in the audience out of themselves for a few minutes.
And they do.
And they do.
Yes, they do. The spaces you perform in must vary greatly. Is there a minimum space you have to have? The one we saw, which was in a church in South Tampa, had a lot of space. And do you go visit the site beforehand, take a look at it, make sure it's adequate?
Yes,
oh,
we
definitely.
really have to do that, especially if we're taking the dancers. The singers are much more versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Singers, you don't need a terribly wide space because we do actions usually with our songs, but nothing that really takes us way out of a frame.
Right.
But dancing, you have to have room to move and turn around.
Particularly
Yeah.
in machines.
For our wheelchairs, we need about 20 by 20.
Yeah.
A 20 by
20
20.
feet by
Right.
20
Yeah, 20 feet
Right,
by
right.
20 feet.
And
then, of
in
course-
that you're an actress, you are probably also giving them the kinds of possibilities they have to enhance the song.
Well, definitely. You want to give them some sort of impression of why they're singing what they're singing, and give them an understanding of that. But usually by adding actions, that helps learning the words and learning the meaning of the song for them. So, yeah, there's a lot of different elements
that go into it.
That go into it.
Yeah.
And being an actor, I think, helps because it helps me to be creative in my thinking and how to approach it. Because everyone's disability is different. And so I might have to take a little more time and approach it from another way. I have to kind of figure out how it is that person thinks and what is going to really click with them to help them to understand what I'm asking them to do.
Right.
And it's a challenge, but I find it very enjoyable actually to have to put myself to that test to figure out exactly what's going to work for each one of them, because it's just such a thrill when you see them thrive in such a way. It really is just a great reward. Sometimes they'll be dancing and I'm sitting up to the side and I'm getting a little teary because I'm just so proud of them. It's just amazing to watch, you know, from the room that we rehearse in to a performance. It's wonderful.
It smaller, the room you rehearse in?
It's probably about
the same
close
size?
to the same
we have
size.
a pretty good dance studio room. Yeah, it's close to 20 by 20.
Yeah.
How many performances do you do, let's say, in a year? And can you tell me a little bit about the places and the variety of things that you do?
We just came from an event in Orlando, which is an annual event called Family Cafe, that you can look up on the website also. It's a wonderful event. And I've been there 2 years, I've gone with, and it gives us an opportunity to not only perform ourselves, but to see other people who perform from Pyramid and to see what they're doing. But those spaces tend to be rather small, not a big dance area.
And of course, it's in Orlando, so we have to transport everyone there. And big wheelchairs are harder to transport.
Sure.
When we're local, we can ask the group homes and other places and families to bring their students with us, or to bring their students to the venue.
Right.
And that makes it easier to present more singers and dancers.
And by the way, in your various classes, you also have visiting artists, don't you, who teach the students. There's on technique, probably, most of the time, craft shows and whatever. If you were to calculate in a given year how many of these visiting artists come through, what would you say?
Maybe a dozen.
Maybe a dozen.
That's very nice to have,
It is
that
nice,
added
and
dimension.
We're really fortunate to have the University of Tampa Dance Department take an interest in us, and
Oh, good.
Susan Taylor Lennon brings people, brings some of her students twice a year, and they show us how to do a brain dance. And then we show them what we're working on at the moment. And it's absolutely amazing and wonderful for our students because they're talking to other dancers.
Good. Well, luckily, we have a student with us today, and we'll be talking to Marcy Tenenbaum in just a minute, but you'll get a chance to see one of the numbers from the British invasion now. We have a new guest. She's part of the Pyramid cast and a marvelous singer, according to Xanda.
Yes, she is.
Marcy Tenenbaum was a member of the cast for the British invasion and other performances as well. And you have been with Pyramid for
Since 2010.
10. And you sort of interviewed them, and they heard you sing, and
Yes.
go ahead and
The
tell
first
about that.
song, when I first went there, I sang The Climb. Xana got so amazed, so the first show I did was Pieces of a Dream, and that's the first song I sang. And then there was a duet with me and another Pyramid player, Eric Taylor.
But don't forget there was an extra element of that
Oh,
duet.
I know. There was also George, who did sign language, and then Danielle did the dance. And we sang Somewhere Out There.
Terrific.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Wonderful. That's a very complicated piece.
It was very complicated. It was really challenging for all of them to do. But we like to try challenges, don't we?
That's
Like-
right.
Yes, it
That's
does.
right. This isn't just to stand up and sing
Yeah,
or
no.
stand up and
Oh, no.
do very small
Yeah.
elemental things. There is choreography involved,
Right.
and choreography even with the students,
Right.
the voices who move around
Right.
each other and so forth. So it's and the degree to which your audience responded is an indication of how well they are receiving it. Did you know you were a singer from the time you were a tiny tot?
Not really. When I first started singing, I probably didn't sing 100% or between good. It took a lot of practice. My grandma used to be a cappella, is that right?
Yeah.
Acapella
A
singer.
cappella singer.
Right.
She used to do in the school. So I kind of got that from her. My dad is a good singer.
I was going to say, yeah, don't forget your dad. Your dad's a good
I
singer,
won't.
too.
My dad used to sing to me, which he can't really sing that well now, Crocodile Rock.
Right?
So it was a lot of fun. And it takes a lot of practice and a lot of work to become a singer or a dancer, like everything. And I finally got to the point where I was able to do it.
Because when Marcy first came, she really didn't want to dance.
Oh, is that right?
Now
very
we can't
scared.
stop her.
Yeah, I was very shy when it
She's
come to
doing it.
dancing.
Well, I think probably gaining competence in one area just leads to another automatically. And also, you have the support of your friends now, who
My
are,
friends,
and your fellow
family.
actors and singers and dancers. So it really becomes a group effort. It's sort of like the fame school.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
It
then
is like that.
I have family, well, she's not really family. I'm also in a group home.
Uh-huh.
And a girl named Tiffany does Broadway and stuff. So when I see her sing, it gives me ideas because Xana always says I had to smile when I sing.
And sometimes I'll say, isn't she doing what I tell you to do? And she'll say, yes. I said, so maybe what I have to say means
That's
something.
interesting. Well, we probably could use some hints right now about things to do when you are presenting.
Well,
and
one of the-
smiling when you're singing.
I tell
Is
you,
that
smile,
difficult?
And then breathing.
breathing, taking
Yes.
deep breaths,
Yeah.
opening your mouth.
Which I have a hard doing.
Sometimes she has a challenge with opening her mouth. Articulation,
Mm-hmm.
pronouncing the words well. I have to say this about Marcy, though. I know she worries about memorizing words, but she memorizes very quickly. And I believe that's because she goes home as soon as I give her the material and she starts listening to it and working on it. And she's really one of the people in the group that I rely on for words and helping other students that might have some difficulty.
And the reason I know how to memorize them, how to keep my mouth open, is when I sing songs that we don't do from the show. Like any kind of song I sing, I practice with that song and I open my mouth when I sing it. And I smile. I do it anywhere at home.
Very
And it's a
good.
lot of fun, even
yes.
with the songs I do.
And so those little practices while you're doing whatever chores or whatever at home,
Right.
it certainly stands you in good stead. And in addition, you make jewelry.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
How does that work, and how do you plan for that? We were talking about what you see in your head, or
Yeah, I visualize it in my head.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a picture in my head. And I decide, and I look at another picture that people did, and I just start using it. Sometimes I say to myself, is this what I'm supposed to do? And also the people who do jewelry there, the teachers, also give me some ideas. Sometimes, like once I put a key in the middle of the necklace, she said to me, I don't think that's really good, so we put another pendant. So when we did the British invasion, I went back to check on how my jewelry is. They're all gone. All sold out.
Yeah, because
Wonderful.
everything, she says, I want to show you my jewelry. And we went and we're looking and all over the table and we didn't find any. It was
They're
all sold.
gone.
Were you in the Orlando production? Mm-hmm. What did you do there?
I sang I Only Want to Be With You.
Oh, that's a nice song.
And there was a guy who owns Pyramid named Bill. Am I saying
Bill
right?
Fuller.
Bill Fuller. And
He and his wife, Marilyn Yon, founded Pyramid.
and he was amazed because when I first started, I didn't have a really,
Strong
Strong
She
voice.
was a little timid then.
yeah. And when I started singing, he was very impressed. When we did the one in Orlando, I heard him in the background when I was singing saying, well, she's so good. I am very shocked. So I heard Xander told me, and Terry said they went to both of them about it. And I was like,
He told us both, and then he went and told Marcy how impressed he was
And
how
all the
much
people
she had
who-
improved.
and all the people, and all the people who were there he told me couldn't stop talking about me.
Oh, what a nice thing to happen.
Yes.
Were the various pyramid groups all included in this event?
Well, they all do their own performances, and they're with their own directors, and it's very nice because we get an opportunity to see what the other pyramids are doing, and sometimes they'll say to me, "Did we do as well as they did?" And I'll say, "Well, maybe you were just a little bit better in some areas, and maybe not so good in others." But they. All of the pyramids really have wonderful performers. They're all very dedicated. They all work very hard, and it's very evident in all the performances. But my group, of course, I'm prejudiced. I think they work the hardest, but I know that's probably not true. Everybody works hard.
Well, how many were in? I'm trying to remember how many were in the British invasion cast. I would have thought maybe up to 20.
Actually, it probably looked that many, but there were not as many as 20. The singers, there were 9, I believe, and dancers, we had, I believe, 5. But some of our singers also were dancers in that production.
You're a very good example of it, and I know you like it.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
I
that's
wouldn't take any chance to stop what I'm doing.
Great.
This has been a dream for me for the longest time to perform. And it was actually my grandma's dream for me to have a vocal teacher.
Terrific.
And
Well,
she
good.
has, and may she rest in peace. She got her wish.
Yes. Well, thank you both for being with us, and of course, Terry.
Thank you for having
And
us.
I hope you enjoy this because this is really an amazing, amazing program. I'm going to sign off with the last thing that the letter from Pyramid in the website says. We believe in what we do. We make a difference. And you really do.
Yes,
Thanks for
you.
being with us.